So, good evening and welcome to all of our viewers and participants. This is a very special Zanga Coach Meet to close out this year. We have a dear friend of Zanga's, somebody we admire, one of our beloved coaches with us. Many of you know him already. And we will be entering into a discussion with him on his amazing journey and get his insights. So again, welcome. Thank you to everybody who's been able to join us live. We appreciate you. We are grateful for you. And also thank you to everybody who will be watching this on our social media channels, on our YouTube after the fact. So, I'm going to go into a little bit of an introduction for those who might not be um, familiar with Dr. Dumi. So, we are honored to be joined for our last coach meet of the year 2025 by Dr. Dumisani. And forgive me, sir, and correct me, please. Sometimes my tongue becomes European, and no offense, and I fail to pronounce certain things. So we are joined by Dr. Dumisani, Magdalena. Correct me? Okay, I got it. Thank you. Who is just a wonderful coach. Dr. Dumi is a team and executive coach. He is an author and a leadership development facilitator with over 25 years of human development experience. He is an outgoing chairperson of the International Coaching Federation Global Board and a former executive at the Development Bank of South Africa. Um, Southern Africa. And he is just incredible. He co-founded the Ubuntu Coaching Foundation to expand coaching for leaders and communities. He's often described as a people whisperer. And of course, he has wonderful ICF credentials as a PCC coach, and he's the author of um, Ubuntu coaching and connection practice for leaders and managers. This is something that's available on Amazon, and I really do encourage you to check it out after this webinar. Please go and get the book for yourself. It is well worth it. Wonderful. You see, I love this. The marketer in me is fulfilled. So please, you've seen the cover of the book. You know you need to go buy it. So it's my pleasure. It is our pleasure, Zanga, and our special privilege to welcome you, Dr. Dumi. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a pleasure, what an honor. And I think if you say a friend of Zanga, I think you are underplaying my role. This is family for me. For me, I'm home. Zanga is mine. I own it too. I belong to it. It runs in me. So for me, the success of this is it's all our success. So thank you to my dear sister Nankonde for spearheading and leading this. This is our instrument for transforming the world we live in. Our input and contribution to that. So thank you very much for your beautiful introduction. I love it, and I'm delighted to be here. I'm honored to be here, and I want to greet you all first as me as a child of God and as a child and the son of this continent. I do not recognize the borders. I think we are here together as fellow human beings here. So thank you for being here. Such an honor, such a pleasure to be together on this conversation today.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And this will be a little bit of a different format. We are going to have more of a conversation. And by conversation, I mean that I will ask a few questions, just to get some of the insights into Dr. Dumi's coaching journey and kind of the moments that shaped his practice, his insights, and of course, what we're all here for to learn more about his wonderful holistic view at coaching and connection for leader managers based on Ubuntu. So I'm excited and I can't wait to fire away with questions. So enough said. Let's get right into it because I know the people want to hear from you, sir. So maybe just to start, they always say start at the beginning, that every story has a beginning. So we'll start at the beginning. When you look back, what is the story of how you became a coach at the beginning? What was that turning point to where you are today, or that set you off on your journey?
Yeah. For me, it doesn't start with awareness and recognition of coaching and what it is. I'll get to that. But my journey as a practitioner coach, as a human coach who believes in everyone's inherent capacity, not potential capacity to be whoever they were designed and created to be. That journey started when I was younger, watching elders around me who understood human connection, that we are community first, and that we are part of nature. We are part of systems that make up life as we know it. From my own upbringing as a firstborn in a family of 7, from my mother and father, and then being raised in a larger family of 13, 14 children with my cousins, and us all together as that, and me, because of the family structure, being thrust into leading the whole family as the firstborn in that, and having to navigate that. I learned early on that you can't achieve everything you want alone. So I learned to find ways to collaborate and to get to know who has what strength in my small network of siblings and cousins. We didn't call them cousins, just brothers and sisters growing up together. I learned from them that everyone has their own gifts that they carefully manage, they can deploy in the service of the greater good, of the collective. Very, very important. I knew who knew how to milk cows faster than someone else, because we grew up from living off the land, who knew how to put the yoke on the oxen and make sure that they move around and plow quicker than anyone else. And I got to learn those things early on. And that ingrained in me appreciation of everyone's gift. And this is why in some of my work, I talk about part of leadership's work is to understand that everyone has a gift in them. And our work as leaders, as coaches, is to support those we work with to find out what their gifts are, what their gifting is. Because out of all of us, over 8 billion, 9 billion maybe of us human beings on this planet, there's only one Amadeus, there's only one of you. And you have your unique gifts that during this lifetime, you have to deploy and express for the benefit not of you alone. That's the Western Anglo-Saxon limited view of life, but in the for the greater benefit of humanity as a whole. Your gifts are not yours alone. Your gifts are for everyone else. And then coming back to actual coaching as we know it now, because I believe that coaching started when humanity started. It is as old and ancient as humanity itself. So one of the reasons I came into coaching was when I was doing a Gestalt executive development program where we traveled around the world in different parts of the world with there were 36 of us in the cohort, and it's about 18 months or so. You go and work with organizations and leaders in different parts of the world as part of your training. And then you have modules and lecturettes to go through that. And then you have to coach, you have to give others feedback. And facilitators on that, one elderly gentleman who is one of the founders of the Gestalt Institute of Cleveland in the US, kept telling me whenever I gave feedback, Dumi, you have an amazing coaching approach to how you give feedback, how you ask someone, you make a statement, and that opens up others to think for themselves. You ask questions, and then they're open-ended questions, not a yes or no question. Several of the teachers kept saying that, and one of the teachers is in Ghana. John Ngum is an incredible teacher in leadership, and 𝗪𝗪𝗿𝗪, who is based in Cape Town, who were on the faculty for that. And John O'Hanafin, I remember them, and then there was the elderly gentleman, Edwin Nevis. He was incredible. He's the one who kept saying, "You've got to go and do coaching." So this was in the early 2000s. I was working for the United Nations then. It's like, so I kept saying, what is this coaching thing he's talking about? I'd read about it, I'd seen articles about it, and I thought, okay, maybe I should check this out. And like they say, the rest is history. One coaching certificate course, and I never looked back. And now I believe that I'm still learning, by the way, about what this coaching thing is and how it works. And just to look back to my family upbringing, when I had a call and a conversation with Nankonde, and she said, "This is what I'm doing, this is what it's about," it landed in my heart around, finally, something that will help us, people understand that we are interconnected. An instrument, an assessment, I don't like to use the word tool, but an assessment system that enables us to find connections and interconnections, and that heightens the inherent human connection that's there. I love that. And for me, it spoke to me, it spoke to my heart. And it was an easy, yes, you got my support all the way to do this. And I saw the early skeletons and bones of it. It's a beautiful journey. Zanga is an incredible, incredible journey. And to get to where it is now and where it's going, it's even longer where it's going to go. It's got an incredible future ahead. And quite a privilege to be part of it from the beginning.
Wonderful. And we are privileged to have a family member like you on the journey with us together. This is wonderful. I'm curious, looking back at your earliest or earlier days as a coach, and I know you're still on the journey and you're still learning and we're learning together, but what is one lesson you wish your younger self had known about working with leaders in our kind of high context African emerging market settings? If you could go back and just say one thing to a little younger Dumi, what would that be?
And possibly starting in the non-government sector in South Africa from early days of independence. And I was looking back at the report, preparing for this. I was working with a team. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to take off my thing and just show you this all together here now. This is a part of a document, a book that was published from the work. It's the People's Voices, National Speak Out on Poverty hearings. And this was in 1998. This was just in South Africa. This is just a few years after democracy. And a big part of the work here was, we went around the country, meeting people in their villages and communities and townships and settlements, in the farms, to find out what has been the impact of poverty over decades, if not centuries, in their lives, and having people talk about experience of impoverishment, disenfranchisement, and that. From those days, I learned. I was not even a coach then. I had not done the program where I met coaching, coaching met me and invited me in the early 2000s. This was before we can do more, we can do better. Finding people, meeting with people that had barely anything. We spoke about young men that were living under bridges. And those images have stayed with me around in an economy that's renowned as it's one of the best on the continent, can do better. Those images, and then meeting, coaching, and leadership development all told me that you can do more with the gifts and skills that have been put in you. Move that forward to when I became a coach. One of the clients I met was in government. And I was living in Cape Town then. And this very nice gentleman who's a bureaucrat in the water sector where I used to work, he says, and I remember this, I remember his name, I will not mention it now because I probably should not, because it may not be, it may not land me in a good space. He says, Dumi, you need to understand that you can do whatever you do, but you cannot boil the ocean. Long term, like you can do whatever you do, but remember, the problems we have are so massive that you can be as passionate as you can, but you can really barely do anything to make a difference. And I remember deep within me a feeling of, oh, try me. Every conversation I have with anybody, I will help make a difference in that person's life if I can. And one conversation, one shift, one change, at least I boiled something that will have an impact in a person's life. And it's those small things cumulatively over time, people saying, you can't do that, you can't do that. I had somebody tell me, oh, you want to register and do a PhD. Hey, that's just useless thing. What will it do? Just get a job and do that. It's like, no, I'm going to do it. So consistently having people that you can't do that. And a big part of me saying it's doable. And if I want to do it and I've got the drive and energy for it, I'm going to go for it. And then starting coaching, one of my coaching teachers said, you've got a gift and you have a way around working with others and helping co-create spaces for others to show up. Pursue that. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So messages are mixed. And for me, what has stayed with me is from these conversations with others has been, it's possible if you set your mind to it. And lastly, maybe a last example is early on in the manufacturing company in South Africa, major manufacturing company working with engineers and others. I was working with the executive team and as one of the coaches on the panel, we were coaching about 9 or 11 executives in that, including the CEO. I had the pleasure of coaching the CFO, was the only female on the executive. And I tell this story often because she gave me permission to share it. I used in teaching also. If you saw them during a break after a session and they're milling by the coffee station or water purifier there, short hair, she'd wear a suit, dark blue or navy blue or black or charcoal colored suit, and then a top, and then wear a scarf like a tie. You wouldn't say there's a woman in there. At a distance, all men in that, executives in that, because she wanted to be one of the boys as the only female in that, a CA, chartered accountant, and that. And she said to me, when we set to do our chemistry session, we'd already been matched and said, contracting session. Sorry, Dumi, I need to tell you straight that I don't want this coaching thing because I don't need fixing. I think I understand my journey, my story, I'm good. And I remember thinking, this is going to be quite a journey or something. And then after that, remember, I'm a relatively young coach then. I've done my coaching hours. I'm qualified, certified. I've done quite a number of coaches. And this is one of my first senior executives I'm coaching. I've been coaching them. I'm confident. I know this. I've been doing this. And she said, don't want this thing. So then the questions after that were, what do you understand to be meant by this coaching thing? And went into depth in that. And instead of a half-hour coaching conversation, we ended up over an hour talking about that. And cut a long story short, it was 12 sessions, and we had 13 sessions plus a bit of consultation after that, almost 14 sessions after that. And she became the advocate for coaching in that company. And then one meeting, exco meeting she had, just to close it, she put on a white dress with big red roses on it, put on pantyhose, high heels, and had her hair flowing and put on makeup, red lipstick. And she just walked into that. And you see all the guys turn and like, who is that? And she said, I'm claiming back my power, my feminine power as a woman. And this is my place, and I will be myself fully. And I remember one session when she broke down in tears around this, I need to be myself. I'm tired of putting on this mask. For me, the power of coaching in that told me that this is doable. So that's one story around early on in my journey that told me, you're on the right path. Keep going, and keep doing this. And I love coaching. For me, it's effortless. It's not work. It's just being with another person as they transition and transform and become the best version of themselves.
That is wonderful, and just such a powerful reminder about what it means when people live from their authentic self, when they live their purpose from their true identity. And it's also a perfect segue to the next kind of question. And that is, you've told us a little bit about who you serve and how you serve them. But we'd love to drill a little bit deeper into that, because what you raised with the story of the executive, the lady who got to reclaim her authentic self and bring that to bear with the excellence that she embodies in the workplace. When we look at, the clients you're coaching, people come to coaching and they're wrestling with a lot of things beneath the surface. So especially in high context workplaces, what patterns do you see around relationships, reading the room and leading a diverse team, like being the only woman in a male-dominated space? What are some of these things that you have? I know this is pretty broad, but I'll put that out to you.
Patterns and relationships that I notice over time. Maybe I should disclose a little more about myself. That I'm a human behavioral scientist and read psychology of human behavior, human development, social development, and just understanding people. I'm fascinated by people. I can sit in a space and just observe and watch, not in a creepy way, but more in a curious way. Curiosity about people is what fascinates me, what drives me. So I'm always interested in people and their behavior. What makes you do that? And I got teenagers in my house right now. That's two younger kids, and always fascinating just watching human behavior and how people choose to behave in certain ways. So the patterns and maybe relationships that I've noticed over time that have impacted maybe how I work and shifted or helped me transform and transition my practice and how I work is starting with the interest in the other that I see in leaders that I coach. And consistently, people show you how they are early on by what they choose to introduce themselves with. And what you write on your one-page profile or one PowerPoint slide profile, one word page profile, what do you choose to put in there? And then the so-called elevator speech about yourself. When someone asks you, I'm just, who are you? And where you go with that often starts to tell the story about where you're leaning. And of course, you have to read the room and you know what it is that you need to say, depending on the context and the environment and the purpose for that. But what I notice in patterns with people is many times we try and project what we consider to be our strengths, what we consider to be our strong points, our strong foot forward that we put forward and say, this is who I am. And I'm always curious about leaders early on. For me, the chemistry session in coaching is a fascinating one that tells you a lot about someone. I always ask my client, I had a chemistry session yesterday with one executive. And so my question was, so tell me a little bit more about yourself. And the first thing he says, oh, no, there's not much to tell. Offhand, like, there's not much to tell. So I said, I'm sure there is a lot. And then it sat back and took a deep breath. Yeah, where do I start? Okay, you just say there isn't much, but now where do you start? So it's noticing things like that, small things like that, because many times people just say things offhand. And then as a coach, if you're alert and aware, it's about pausing, just a quick pause on that. It's a minor timeout, like we do in team coaching, to say, you just said this, that you did this. That's what I'm noticing in that. It's a big part of our work is what do we notice? So to answer your question, the patterns I noticed are patterns, what you call habitual patterns that people throw out. And our work is to help them notice that that's what they're doing. And there's a question there around, what am I choosing to show up with first? And what are the reasons behind that? And when we pause and help them pause a bit, things just open up on their own. Sometimes patterned behavior narrows things into, almost funnels it away from where the work needs to happen. And that momentary pause helps just reveal more behind the scenes in that. I'm not answering your question directly, but I'm happy to revisit it and go deeper into it in greater detail with examples in that. Yeah.
I love the organic exploration, and I actually feel this is taking us to much more interesting places, spaces. You know, structure for me is a direction, right? But it's us who give it meaning and who actually create value through the structures that we conceive. Which actually is very interesting because it kind of also leads us into looking at your unique coaching process. And at the beginning, you are a thought leader, you're an author, and I for one, and I'm sure our audience, both our live audience and those who'll be partaking in this later, will be very interested in learning a little bit more about your coaching philosophy, in terms of how it integrates Ubuntu and connection. Into your coaching for executive leader managers, how would you describe this to me, a layperson? I'm coming kind of to our chemistry read or maybe our first session, and I'm like, well, I've Googled this, but I don't know if I really understood it. So maybe you could take me, the layperson, through that. What does this actually mean?
Oh, beautiful. I love this question because it speaks to my heart and the core of my being, really. And in sharing that, I'm going to use an example of my upbringing. One of my Ubuntu teachers and my whole philosophy, the direct answer is my coaching philosophy is informed by and inspired by Ubuntu, which means I can't be fully me if you can't be fully you. And that informs my coaching. And a big part of my work is to support my clients become the best versions of themselves as fully and freely as they can be. Support them to identify obstacles and remove them and work on them, work around them, whatever they need to do to transcend them. It's a big part of my work. So coming back to that is watching my Ubuntu teacher who gave birth to me. And I'm going to share a quick image of her doing that right now. Do I have permission to share slides? Just share one slide. Yes, I do have
all
permission to
means.
share. So I'm going to share it right now. I'm sharing it right now. I'm going to take it from a class that I was teaching this and gave this. It's part of my Ubuntu work. The woman on the right is my mother. She passed recently, a few years ago. And she taught me Ubuntu. She lived it and practiced it and taught it. And the young woman on the left, her husband was in the city in Johannesburg, would come and visit, and then this was her third child on her back, and they helped each other in the village, in the community. What my Ubuntu teacher on the right did would, every time she would see along in the village a person walking, maybe an elderly person or a young woman like the other one carrying luggage on her back, and she comes from the city maybe to do something, and she will go to her and ask, how long do you still have to go? And if they say maybe another 5 kilometers, I still have, maybe say the name of the village where she's going, say, but it's a dusk, the sun is going down, and all kinds of dangers along the way. There'll be a snake or something, or someone's dog. So just come home, and you will continue your journey tomorrow. And she would feed them, sometimes give old hand-me-downs, give them food, something to wash, refresh, rest, and then in the morning, give them something in the evening to say, well, if you're up early to travel, this is your package, something to eat along the way, and get some rest and travel. So she ran a B&B long before we knew what that was, for free. So for me, look at that, like, and I can tell you hundreds of examples of what she did with other people, including that picture that I took her doing that. For me, it's understanding that Ubuntu is alive in our communities. It's many people who live maybe in the cities and these global metropoles that don't understand that humanity does not need to be told, do that. We do that from our heart. We know what's right. It's in us. You can say it's in our blood. It's in our genetics. It's in our way of being human. We know how to be humane, human with an E. We know it. We've been programmed and conditioned not to. And a big part of this work, and to come back to your question, I'd describe my coaching philosophy as an engagement with the human soul in practice. So it's seeking to engage with the soul of the person in front of me, and knowing that it's there and ready and willing, and seeking to connect with its greater, deeper self. And a big part for me, I'm a witness to human transformation and an enabler to that. And I empower someone and give them, not give them really, co-create space where they can freely become who they were created to be. And Ubuntu is that software within us that we plug into together, and we realize and recognize the brilliance of all our genius together. So for me, that is where the work is. And the shallow part is to say, I am because we are. That's a cliche. And many times I see it as, it's just a, it's a good ring to it. I am because we are. Great. For me, Ubuntu is deeper and more profound than that. It's about collective accountability in action. And it's alive and it's tough. It's not easy. That is why not everyone can actually practice it and be it and have it. But it's a global phenomenon. It doesn't belong just to us here or someone there and that. It's not a Black African thing and that. It's a human thing. If you're human, you have Ubuntu and you can tap into it. You can access it. It may be buried deep within you because of the conditioning and programming and all that that's told you, no, not this. You only exist as an individual. That's it. But look around the world right now with global tech, revolution that's happening around us with AI that can do what we're doing now, we need to tap more into who we are. We are humane beings and we are connected. And our power and strength is in collaboration and connection. AI technology knows how to connect now better than we can. But we have souls, and this is why we're sentient beings. And coaching from that point of view, for me, is it makes us more of who we really are. We can partner with technology smarter when we lean more onto who we are, humane beings. Technology can't emulate that as much as it can try. Very, very important for me that we remember who we are. I hope I'm answering that some more with that. I can talk about Ubuntu intelligence, but we can go into that.
And I would love to. You are bringing so many thoughts.
Can I quickly, I need to go into, I think there was something around, just to illustrate this, around how I coach, when I coach with Ubuntu, what I do in that, just to give our colleagues here who are either here live and who are listening or viewing the recording. When I meet a client, the first things when I meet a client is to check in with them. And I did that just yesterday, the client that was meeting for the first time. And then a chemist session that I had, and I think I mentioned it earlier. But one of the first coaching sessions, session number 1 with the client yesterday, one of the first things was just checking in with them. And at the end, the client will say, your takeaways, the client says, how much you were interested in me as a person. I felt like you saw me as a person. I only asked questions about, so tell me about yourself. And then they go in. Same thing I asked in the chemistry session. Tell me a little more about yourself. And then she did. And I asked more questions. And then I shared what is in chapter 8 of my book, which is called the 7 self-reflection questions, which is who am I? Where am I? Where am I going? How will I know I'm there where I say I'm going? And what are my life's milestones and achievements? And what is my support system? And what's my legacy and service to humanity? In other words, what will I be known and remembered for when I eventually take my last breath? Those 7 questions help anchor people to know this is who I am. So I go around that into who exactly is in front of me, whether in person or virtually on the screen in front of me. I ask my clients to feel free. So we co-create this sacred container for coaching. So that's what coaching is. With Ubuntu, coaching is even more sacred because you're opening your soul to me to see you and work with you as authentically as you are. So the typical coaching first session is more a connection. It's a connection journey into each other's souls, not in a deep metaphysical way, but in a very humane, interested, curious coaching mindset way, as the ICF competencies say. So I'm tuning into who you are. And I always say to some of my clients, in coaching, when you're ready, we'll take off the masks that we carry around to protect ourselves from a very often, sometimes dangerous world, which is actually a very friendly world if you look at it. So we're taking off those masks, not to assume they are masks, but we get to see each other more authentically as we are. And that first session lays the foundation. And that's why many of my clients, after we've done the coaching engagement, they always say, can I have a one-on-one? Can we meet and just have a coffee? Because I want to ask you questions that are not really in coaching. I want to talk to you not as a coach, but as a person, as a mentor, and as an advisor or sponsor or support, just to tap into that wisdom that you shared that seems to be behind your questions. So for me, you lay a foundation for a relationship that transcends coaching. In other words, you establish a connection with a fellow human being, a connection that is not only defined by coaching. For me, that's the work that as African coaches especially, we are imbued with this way of connecting to others. That's why we greet the way we do. There's a reason for that, because we're connecting with the soul of the person and whoever is behind them, and it's their support system, and it's their ancestors and been there with them, not in a like ancestral witchcraft kind of way, but recognizing who we are and where we come from, understanding that that's who we are. We're more than just how it's narrowly defined in that. Very, very important for me. This is the heart of the work. You've got to see the person in front of you beyond how they're presenting in that moment, in the shell that they are, which is the vessel that they come in. That is the work. They're more than that. That's just manifestation in that moment. But it's connecting with all that they are, where they come from, with whoever has helped them get here right now. I've spoken a lot. I hope it's still okay.
It's wonderful. It is wonderful, Doc. It is wonderful. And it's making me think about so many things, and the people who stand behind me, who stood behind me, who poured their love, their support into me, who saw me as a human, who saw me even when in difficult circumstances, when I was not at my best, when I was not brilliant, maybe when I was downright ugly, but who still saw me and poured into me and stood by me and loved me. So it's definitely connecting at a very deep level, Doc. Which also, out of curiosity, because, of course, Zanga African Metrics, we have our mission to support and empower leaders in Africa, in emerging markets, where we exist in high context cultures and high context environments where we connect with other people. We collaborate, we connect, we work together. Our lives are complex, the decisions are complex and can be, we work in chaotic environments. So I'm also really curious from your wonderful philosophy and Ubuntu intelligence. How do Zanga tools, how do Zanga assessments and analytics, how do you see them supporting this approach to coaching?
Yeah, thank you. And that's a very good one. For me, this is where I believe we need to put the tire hits the road. And I've always recommended to my clients, previously it was Enneagram, it was this and that. Now it's easy, on top of the list. You've got to try out work with Zanga team. I must confess, I need to do more in that more clients need to really work on that, even if they've tried Hogan and other psychometrics and others. But if you're on the African continent, you run a company here, even if it's headquartered outside, but if you have operations on the continent, you've got to use Zanga in that. That's my script with many of my clients. And the two clients right now that I mentioned that to say, we'll get in touch, we'll do that. So maybe one of the things you and I need to do is just for me to send them your way, not send them to the website. Maybe direct contact, that will help. But for me, it's a simple one. Every time a client wants to do that, I always say, you've got to work with this. And there's something that as Zanga we need to do there. We need to find a way to make maybe more testimonials that we carry as coaches, as Zanga coaches, Zanga trained practitioners, that we carry with us, that when we meet a client, we say, this is what it is and this is what is happening. Possibly maybe audio visual would work better than most of the time I send them to the website. And I think that's not enough. So we've got to find tools and instruments that we can equip our coaches to take to their clients with. I mean, I work with clients all over the world. I was talking about Zanga to a group of Chinese coaches, and the market there is exploding. Imagine if you get to that market in that. We'll have to move you, Amadeus, into Shanghai somewhere. But the work is, there's so much to do out there. The world needs this right now. So we've got to find a way to get to that.
Indeed.
So that's just what I wanted to mention for me, it's a space that we need to grow. We're still very young, but we need to understand that we have much more to give, and the world is ready for us. Yeah.
Indeed. And agreed, right? And I love this connection and collaboration in a
Yeah,
world where the trend has been in accelerated fragmentation and
yeah,
separation.
yeah,
So you are speaking to my soul, sir. As always, I always learn so much from our
yeah,
interactions. And I'm actually curious, I would love for you maybe just to give one very practical starting direction. So if I'm
yeah,
a person listening to this and I'm not
yeah,
a coach, right? But
yeah,
I do lead people. I do have context within which I lead, my family, my
yeah.
community. Um, what is one thing I could do to bring the Ubuntu intelligence approach to how I lead or how I show up and love and serve my people?
Yeah. For me, do the 7 self-reflection questions are very helpful in that. The other thing is a daily practice for me, and besides things like journaling and writing about who did you connect with today and how did you do the connection and what do you see coming out of the connection with someone. Daily practice. Journaling is a powerful way. I encourage people to journal, and it's a powerful reflective thing, a de-stressor also. With people with high blood pressure, do journaling. People with this and that, do journaling. It's a powerful way, and it's understated its power. Writing is therapeutic. If you tell your story, you leave the stress on the pages of that document. Whether you write by hand, you type. When you do that, you get it's because we are all energy. You get the gunky stuff out of you by writing. So I encourage people to do that. And uh, I was going somewhere with this around daily practice. The one thing I wanted to mention to everyone is how we go about our business every day. When we meet other people, many of us have been trained, really socialized in the so-called new modern world of work to not greet and not connect. I worked with a CEO once who was, and I was in the executive office with them, who was a smoker, but when he was going to get his smoke, there's no smoking inside the building, but he did not greet people. These are his people, his CEO. So it's a few flight of stairs, and then he would put his phone on his ear as if he's talking to someone while he's holding his cigarette and match and the lighter to go outside. And would walk like that with it. Of course, no one will talk to him because he's on the call. And there's nothing there, but it's just did not want to talk to people. So for me, that is it's a fatal fault in leadership. If you don't feel you have no appetite to talk to the very people that put you there, that work for you. And so the message, and some of you know this who work closely with me on this, is what I call conscious greeting. We need to be intentional with our greeting. You greet consciously, you greet intentionally, you greet mindfully. We must greet fellow human beings in these 3 ways. Otherwise, we're just ticking a box and there is no connection in that. I'll say it again. Greet everyone you meet consciously, intentionally, and mindfully. And someone put it in the chat if anyone wants to remember that. I was giving one class I give at the graduate school, graduate program, MPhil in management coaching at Stellenbosch University in Cape Town. Every year I deliver that lecture. It's called Ubuntu Team Coaching. And one of and then the other lecture I give every year in December now, just did it last week, called African Wisdom in Coaching. And both lectures, it's the other one it's a two-day lecture. The other one is a 4-hour lecture. And the message in that is we are more than how we've been defined by the world we are part of right now. And people break down and cry in that saying, why has no one taught us this? And then afterwards, they have a list of messages and questions and people saying, where can I get more of this? And the greeting part is simple, but it's hard. It's simple, but it's tough. It's a risk. Because think of when you meet someone you haven't met before. Maybe you travel around, you get into a bus, get into an airplane, you sit next to someone you haven't met before. Who speaks first and what do they say? I can tell you now, in most airplanes, I fly around a lot, the drinks and the food are kind of icebreakers. People start talking around that time. Not me. For me, the moment I'm putting my luggage up, I'm going to greet you. I'm not going to be talking your ear off the whole flight. No, don't do that. But I will connect with you. I'll greet, say, hi. Just first thing I say, hello. And that's it. I can test from that if you're interested or not. And then see how it goes. And if I see you reading something, I'll say, oh, interesting read. But my connection effort is safe enough. I'm not intrusive or anything, but I'm intentional with that because I want to make a connection. And I'm consciously engaging with you in that. And in the moment part, like you're reading something, it's mindful, it's in the moment. You're eating something, it's in the moment. Like I can comment on that. But you've got to read the room, of course. There are people that are like, it's closed, like, no, don't even try. And then the others that say like, yeah, okay, you're open to talking. Okay, let's talk. Tell me about yourself. Where are you going? What is business or pleasure? And it goes on like that. So very important. It should not be something we're talking about here as a skill. Most of us here on this call know this stuff because we do it. So we need to greet consciously every soul you meet. It's easier with children sometimes, but the world now is more dangerous. So you see someone carrying a baby and baby will reach out for you and talk to you and people wanting to talk. But then it's dangerous. People like, you want to steal and traffic my baby or something. It's the world we're in. Understand that. Read the room and be mindful in how you do that. So it's about, for me, as a behavioral scientist, I'm fascinated by it and always experimenting with that. And I have so much fun with people. I was in Lusaka, Zambia last week, and sorry I missed you because my calendar got packed up. I couldn't do that with the client. Final closing session of 6 team coaching sessions, and we had to do this in person from 8:30 to 1 o'clock. Full session in a room and doing that. It's amazing closure to that. And one of the things that I learned from that is people are seeking to connect every time. And when they genuinely do, there is a disarming. And that part where people want to shield and protect themselves, it falls away and people become very vulnerable, become very open. We've been coaching this team for months before. But in that room together, it was magical, the depth and level of connection in that. Because the greetings, there were hugs, because we were meeting for the first time, and engagement and connection and sharing and stories that we shared. And even then, we ended up even spilling over the time because there was genuine, authentic connection with each other because we're seeing each other from that and almost connecting at a deeper level than we had connected before. So it's understanding that we have this within us. We need to learn to transcend the story about the other and meet them where they are and how they are. For me, that we make a bigger impact when we, the first connection, we greet consciously, mindfully, intentionally, and then make sure that we build on it as we go. A big tip for us as coaches, we need to listen very carefully and notice how people choose to greet, because that is a telltale sign around the willingness and eagerness and hunger and really appetite for connection, because everyone has it. Others just choose to suppress it.
That's beautiful. Funny enough, you remind me of my dad. And I think you've just put in words something he's been teaching me my entire life, right? He's always been very particular about greet people and greet them well. Greet everyone you meet. And you've put, the intentional, the mindful.
Mm.
I love it.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
share one more on that. Yeah, I'm talking a lot, but yeah, this is what it's
And
about, right? We're
please
sharing
go
ourselves.
ahead.
Yeah, my dad, bless his soul, and may he rest in peace. He taught me something. He said, Dumi, you are the leader of the family now, head of the clan. He was terminally ill. Had been sick for quite a while. His kidneys failed, so his whole system was shutting down. He says, I'm leaving this family in your hands. And I'd been preparing anyway. We'd had this conversation before, but this is one of the last ones. He says, remember this. Remember the message I told you. Tell me, what did I say? I said, which one? There's so many. And he says, one of the most important one, transmit that message to your own children and to everyone that can hear it. Everyone you meet is an extension of you, is a relative of you that you haven't met. If the person is the age of your child, that is your child. Treat them as you would treat your own child. If the person is the age of any of your siblings, male, female, treat them exactly as you would treat your sibling, male or female. If the person is the age of your mother and I, your parents, your aunties and that, treat them exactly as you would treat us. If they are older than you or than us as your parents, treat them exactly as you treat your grandmother and your grandfather. You treat everyone that way along your journey in life. You will make incredible connections with fellow humans, because everyone seeks to connect at some level. Be available to connect with them. I've carried that the rest of my life. That's why when I met 𝗷𝗵𝗁, it's like it's my sister. I met with Doreen, like, oh, she's younger. Okay, she's my younger sister. I met younger people. I mean, Nankonde, she's my sibling. Very, very important. I live that. I practice that, and it's genuine to me, because this is my operating system. So for me, it's very, very important that we connect genuinely, and that has really supported me along my journey. I just came out of my last ICF board meeting before it finished, because I had to be here because my siblings are here. They're calling me. My last board meeting as a director on the ICF, which has been an incredibly privileged journey and absolute honor to serve in our beloved profession. And the reason I did that, because they asked for people that are willing to extend the meetings. 3 hours already. I'm like, I already agreed with my family that I'm going to be there at this time. So sorry, guys, bye-bye. I have to go home. You got to prioritize what's important to you. We'd already shifted it by an hour. So you've got to, I can't say, no, I'm going to call Amateurs. I need to stay in. No, I made a commitment. My word is everything. I've got to do that. Very, very important. Don't compromise on your values like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And we're so happy that you are here and that you spend this time with us. I know it's been a long day for you as well, but you brought the energy, and I think this is always transformational. So I am so grateful. We are grateful. And we couldn't wish for a better friend, a better father, a better brother, uh, a better human being in our group to go on this journey with. I'd just love to give one chance for Nankonde, maybe just to say hi and just say one or two words as well. But thank you so much. Over to you, Nankonde.
Thank you, Amadeus and Dumi. Always a pleasure. Thank you for giving and continuing to showcase, something that's so important to all of us, the connection and how to bring it into our lives just as humans, but then by extension as coaches to help others bring it into their lives and be able to do it in a way that's so natural. And when you were speaking, I kept hearing the words remembrance. It's like you're bringing back to remember who we are, and from that place, how we can connect. And the power for me in the Ubuntu intelligence and coaching methodology and your questions is so key to appreciating the African methods and methodologies in coaching. So even to the depth of, I think, what is the connection and the spiritual side that happens when people do see each other. There is literally a method that is of global standard that is being an example to us coaches on the continent in terms of the gifts we carry and how we communicate them and express them. And we deliberately are doing these coach meets so that all the coaches get to understand what is my method? Because behind my method, there is my story, my experience, and there is a practice that is the lens in terms of what I am here to give the world, because this is how I connect to it. So thank you so much. I won't say much more. This has been a beautiful conversation. And to all those who are listening now and will be listening to the recording later, we take our hat off to coaches working on the continent, with the continent, and even outside the continent for the work you do in just helping humans show up more peacefully in their minds, but also better for the results they want to see and the world knows they will deliver. So thank you, as always. And as it's the end of the year, wishing you season's greetings, a fantastic season with the family. And New Year, we're still in this, we're going together. And yes, we're going to China.
Let's go to China. Brilliant. And then last message on this one. Thank you, Nankonde, for those beautiful words. My takeaway end of this is that find out what's inside you. You may outrun that which is chasing you, but it is impossible to outrun that which lives inside you. And for me, God, the Holy Spirit, genius lives in you. Let it out. Don't chase, don't run. Let it catch you. Let your brilliance, your genius catch you. It's seeking to come out. Thank you so much for the space to share. Much love. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Much love to you and to everyone who joined us and who will see this. Bless you. Have a blessed season. We love you. Connect with us, and we look forward to many more wonderful engagements and interactions with each other. Goodbye and good night, and bless you wherever and whenever you are. Bye-bye.